hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate. That's true.
Your question is having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board, that you were glad it happened.
The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively. And therefore they will suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. And when that plane crashed in France with 130 white people off.
No one man should withstand the weight of the world on his shoulders that die when it's over. Ain't no global warming, the world getting colder. Ain't nobody doing shit, they taking our culture. Wake up and see y'all, ain't no balance on one side of the seesaw. We at war with Esau, but ain't nobody down with us. My niggas get up. I know what it's like to wake up fucked up. I know what it's like when the pain cut deep. You can't get on your feet and you just wanna stay asleep. When the shit too much, a nigga need to roll up. And all you got is this money and it still ain't enough. To live is to survive, gotta hustle to stay alive. My girl don't understand, I can see that look in her eyes. I'm not the trouble of soul, I pacify with lies. I inflict the pain and wipe the tears of her cries. Baby, I know you hurting, apologies in advance. I just pray to God that he give me another chance. Try to make it to heaven, I got one hell of a plan. Dancing with the devil makes me a hell of a man. Yeah, I'm trying to be a better man, but my nigga down south won't put me up 200 amps. He told me if I needed to put that shit in my hands, is that a curse or a blessing, or do I see at the end?
We learned that 120 of them were from the state of Georgia, the state that my own grandfather was a slave in. Why, to me, it couldn't have been anything but an act of God, a blessing from God, and I
so shit we'll never forget. It's embedded, we get dead, and there's levels to this. And I said it like I said it, cause I wanted to hit. I give credit where it's relevant, we better than them. It's evident we set the precedence to elevate men, but we'll never know the evidence kill another black man. And how we supposed to trust the hand we eat off if we hand fed the very poison we feed off? We don't even need all this extra shit they letting us get. It only hold us back from our excellence. Links up, get together, ball, invest this shit. The true value of life. Love my children and wife. Love to all of my niggas who can't be free for the fight. R.I.P. all my niggas who passed on from this life. I love my brothers off the strip, whether he wrong or he right. Let your woman have that glory, baby. I'm wrong, you right. The true glory is through God and how I'm shining my light. Bust down Cartiers to see my sins in the night. Now when I call my darkest hours, all depends on the price. I just had an with snakes, I seen men become mice. I let my pen speak my mind, the only way I think twice. All that I sacrifice, I shall exceed in this life.
You don't get freedom, people. Freedom is never safeguarded. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England, or he says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. And when you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we've been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to stick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water holes on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. That's now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
just as no peace. What's good? What's good? Shalom, shalom. What's up? What's up? What's cracking? I know we see the title. On the road to perdition, right? On the way to Armageddon. Forgot how exactly I titled it. Y'all see it, right? On the way to, on the road to perdition, right? Down to Armageddon, right? Going to Armageddon. I don't know. Y'all get it. But, of course, giving all praises to the Most High God, we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world mistakenly calls Jesus Christ, right? We're going to get right into it, right? So we're going to break it down. We be covering these current events and these, getting it, looking at these current events and matching them up with Bible prophecies and stuff. Seeing where we at in this timeline of things, right? So, a lot of interesting stuff going on in the world, with the wars and stuff like that. You got the Russia and everybody over there, Israel, America. Everything is ramping up, and we can't lose sight of, what's going on, although they throwing out these different distractions and stuff in the news for different stuff, we still got to keep our eyes, on these prophecies and seeing how these things are unfolding and where we at in this timeline, right? So, hold on one second, real quick. I like it. Yeah, we back. So like it. So we're gonna get right into it though. My bad. We're gonna get right into it. Let's start. Let's go to Zechariah, right? Let's go to the book of Zechariah. 'Cause we gotta understand, cause like you're looking at what's going on over there with Iran and stuff. They like we ready if America try to do anything, or then Putin had upgraded his nuclear triad thing, right? So this is getting serious, right? And so we gotta understand where we at in this thing. Uh, let's get it. Let's start at Zechariah 1 and 18, right? Get straight to the point. So now this is, Prophet Zechariah. So now, we jokingly call, those guys the brick squad, the bricks, they're known as the bricks. We call them the brick squad. In the Bible, they're known as the four carpenters. And, and Zechariah spoke of them. And let's see what's going on. It says then, so it says, verse 18. Then lifted I my eyes and saw, and behold, four horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered, these are the horns which scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. So now these are the four horns. Now, you got to understand history a little bit, to get this. Now, of course, pursuant to our captivity, our enslavement, these four horns represent the British Empire, the Spanish, the Portuguese, and France, right? Because those were the main components that took us over here to the Western world, right? And we're gonna, prove it. Like we did a breakdown of the, full breakdown detail of the four carpenters and explaining these different horses and all that stuff, right? And before, so it says, and he said unto me, and he said that, well, hold on, let me read it right. It says, and I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. So again, understanding that we are the Israelites, and if you're familiar with the history, we got scattered through slavery and conquest, right? So we got scattered. And then it says, and then, pursuing back to the fall of Jerusalem, 70 AD, because all of these four horns goes back to the Roman Empire. At one point, of course they broke off. So, and they scatter us, through war, conquest, and slavery. And it says, and the Lord showed me four carpenters. And these four carpenters, now this is what we call the brick squad. Then it says, and the Lord showed me four carpenters. Then I said, then said I, what come these to do? So now, so God had, put the spirit on these nations to form together to what we call today the BRICS, right? You got the Brazil, Russia, India, / Iran, China, and South America, right? Then of course all their little underlings that fall underneath their umbrellas, right? So he had put the spirit on these nations to counteract the Western power, which is NATO and the EU, to counter their, to counter, their advancement and their, for their empire, right? For, they won't have total dominance, right? So he constructed these nations to come together because in doing so, it's weakening the American economy because, a lot of these countries is dropping the American dollar, is not using it for trade, so that's why they call it the carpenters. What do carpenters do? Carpenters come to put in work, right? They come to, they do demolition, and that's what these carpenters specialize in. These carpenters specialize in demolition, right? So it says, and the Lord showed me four carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which scattered Judah to the so that no man did lift up his head. So after we got subjugated and oppressed by the British and and the French and the Spanish and Portuguese empire, because our Brazilian and South American brothers down there was oppressed by the Spanish and the Portuguese, and us up here, the French and the British. Then of course America, sprung out of the British, right? So so it says they scattered. It says they scattered Judah so that no man did lift up his head. So once a prideful people, a prideful nation, now we're here. We got this effeminate man calling you a boy, and you gotta hold your head down, don't look him in the eye, and he can beat you up. Like what's that guy Terry Crews, right? Terry Crews, big old strong guy, right? By anybody's standard, right? Let some little effeminate white guy come and grab him by the stuff in front of his wife, right? Of course, between me and you, we know we into it, but he let that happen, right? And that guy's look like if he smack anybody, they gonna be kind of put to sleep, right? If he, hit somebody with all his might, right? But because of the oppression and the subjugation our people, is there. It says, so that no man did lift up his head. So this big old strong man couldn't even defend himself if he wanted to, because it says, but these, so that no man did lift up his head, right? And that's what happened. A lot of our leaders get oppressed. They get ridiculed, they get jailed, they get unalived, and and that demoralized the people. And then so we like, well, might as well not say anything to master, because the way master is, hey, don't you talk like that, you gonna get us all beat, right? So we become docile. We become a people like, well, that was that was the past, we got to let that go. But then this summer everybody gonna celebrate 4th of July like it's cool, right? And that happened 250 years ago, right? But that's because it says these are the horns which scattered Judah through their slavery, oppression, so that no man did lift up his head. Meaning we're not that nation of pride anymore, where we gonna look and be like, what, we gotta fix our condition. We ain't waiting on these people. We gonna do something for ourselves. The people, they got them a Chinatown. We can make us, our own little thing too. They got them a little Italy. How come we can't have something? Right? But it says, so no man did lift up his head, but these come to fray them. So these carpenters that, God put the spirit on, the bricks that God put the spirit on, he says he's using them to fray them, meaning he's using them to free us from this captivity, this oppression that we're facing in the West. Now, of course, we're not rooting for the bricks, because this is all prophecy. God is using, one hand to wash the other, right? And both hands wash the face, right? And then it says, but these come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lift up their horn over the land of Judah, and to scatter it. So God is going to use the bricks to destroy this current empire for what they have done to his people, right? Then, of course, the bricks ain't getting off scot-free neither, because at the end of the day, Russia is still, and Russia and the rest of their Eastern European counterparts, they're still Edomites at the end of the day. And they all got the same judgment. No matter if they claim West Side or East Side, right? No matter if they West Side Connection or Mob Deep, it don't matter, right? They're going down. So it says, so let's go to let's start at let's go to Zechariah 6 and 6 real quick. So it says the black horse. Let's start at 5. It says, the angel answered and said unto me, these are the 4 spirits of heaven which go forth standing before the Lord of all earth. Right. So now these 4 spirits, these 4 spirits is what govern the earth. They go around. They influence the people. They influence nations. They influence countries to do whatever the Most High God command them to do. Right. So that's their job, to go around influencing these different nations, right? And they're symbolizing as 4 horsemen, right? You know how people are usually familiar with the term, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So that's what they're usually symbolized as. So we're going to see what they represent. So, and we only going to, because we're talking about us, we're going to focus on this one right here. So it says, verse 6. And it says, the black horse which are within their, hold on, it says the black horse which are there go unto the north country. So now the black horse, when we break it down, like I said we did in past videos, it represents slavery, right? And read about that in like I said, Jeremiah, believe Revelation. But it's a representation of slavery. So the black horse went into the north country, and the north country is America, right? So, and of course we know history when they came and conquered, because it said that these are the 4 horns that that scattered Judah, that no man lifted up their head, and we already explained that was them oppressing us and subjugating us under their rule. And then what comes with that came with enslavement. So it says the black horse which are therein go into the north country, and while the white horse symbolized conquering. So when they came over to this side of the world, they had the idea to conquer. They conquered all of North America, South America, the Caribbeans, all that cool stuff, right? They did that. So it says in the white go after them. So slavery, their ability to conquer and to enslave nations, that spirit was on them, because we just read about the 4 spirits that govern the earth. So that spirit was on them when they came over on this side of the world. That's why, to this day, they still, have control, because those spirits still resting on them to this day. So it says, boom, 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 it says, and the white go forth after them, and the gristle go forth towards the south country. Right. So as you can see, like I said, so we see on this side of the world, slavery, conquest. They came over here and made war with the Arawak Indians, our Taino brothers and sisters down there, the Native Americans, so enslaved them also, right? So, so we know the history. So just get, so understanding. So we went there to show that, plethora of reasons, but one of the reasons why the Most High is setting all of this up, as when we look, on the news and we see all this war and stuff going on around the world, and different countries getting into it, and this chaos, right? We see, why he's setting all of this up, and why he's, putting Russia and their allies, together, and putting a spirit on them to move the way that they're moving, because eventually it's going to be a clash between them and the West, right? And it's all, building up to that culmination, right? So just go to Ezekiel real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel 38 really, really quick. Ezekiel. Hold on one second. So yeah, So Ezekiel 38, right? So it say this, right? It says, in the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. So now, again, this, Gog and Magog, it says, Son of man, set thy face against Gog. Gog is, is a way of saying the prince of Russia, right? And Magog is an ancient way of saying Moscow, right? Currently we say Moscow, but that same region goes back to a place called Magog. So, and it's saying that the prince of Magog, which would currently be Pushaisti, it says, Son of man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. So, again, going back to what we were saying before, how he's going to use, Pushaisti and a brick squad to take out NATO and the EU. But, of course, we're not cheering for them, because right here, he just said, prophesied against these people. So, and we're going to see what's going on with that. And, it says, I will turn thee back and put thy hooks in thy jaws. And that's what we're seeing today, right? He's turning them back, putting that old Soviet spirit on Vladimir and the other Russian oligarchs to move the way that they're moving, right? Because they're going to want to build up that USSR again, right? They want to get back their strong Soviet Union that they once had. That's why they're going into that's why they went into Crimea. That's why they, doing the whole Ukraine thing. And eventually some of their old territory is going to come back to them, right? Because we're reading it right here. We're going to read it. Then it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, right? And, think about it like when you go fishing and you throw a fishing rod, hook down, and the fish take the bait. So you got the hook. So now you can you can control the fish, right? You can wheel that fish in and whatever direction you want it to go, right? So it's like the Most High is just like, or you got a horse, right? You got the bridle on the horse, the little things that stick in the horse's mouth. That's how you use to steer the horse. So the Most High God had put hooks in Vladimir Putin's jaws, meaning he's controlling his mind. He's influencing his thoughts. He's making him do the things that he's doing, right? And it says, I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws. I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. So he's like, look, I'm going to put it in your mind to put your military back strong, put your military together, go to war. And we see that. Vladimir, talking about, look, we just upgraded our nuclear triad thing. We suspended our extension agreement, meaning they're not coming to the table to talk about how they're not going to use nuclear weapons against each other. So they're like, no, we ain't talking about that. You had your chance to have that conversation with us. Nope, it's up, right? And so they ready. They feeling like Memphis Bleak. In the early 2000s, they got their mind right, money right, ready for war, right? That's how they feeling, right? And it says, I will bring thee forth and put all thy army, horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Of course, the modern day sword is the gun, right? So he's bringing all their armies, bringing all their forces. A lot of people think what's going on in Ukraine is something. That is Russia's C team. They're using Ukraine to train. Putin said this about a month ago. Putin said that's a civil war over there. Okay, although one called himself Ukrainian, the other one called himself Russian. That's a civil war over there, right? So Putin said this. He basically said he got love for him. He said he's taking it easy on them because he loved them and he don't want to see them gone. He said, but you guys, the West, not so much. What is it? Not so much. The Russians always love the Russians always, but Americans, no Americans, no good, no good. The Russians, yeah. Right, that's what he's on, right? That's my Putin impression, right? Yeah, the Russians. America, bad. Bad. If it dies, it dies. Right? So, that's what he on, right? So, it says, all of them handling shields. Let's see who's with them, right? Let's see who's rolling with these people. Persia. What is Persia today? Persia is the ancient name for Iran. And they right there with them. They in the mix. They in the thick of things. You can turn on the news right now and see Iran right there. Right? Ethiopia. Ethiopia is right there with them. Ethiopia is going to be right there with Russia. Because when this whole thing first kicked off, Ethiopia was begging Russia to send soldiers to them. Like, can we please send our soldiers to help you? That's their loyalty. That's what they on. Right? Libya is definitely riding with them. Who else we got? It says all of them with shields handling helmets. Gomer, that's Turkey, right? Turkey is supposed to be the EU, but of course I think they're joining the BRICS this year, right? They're supposed to be on the other side. They're supposed to be throwing up the dub west side, right? But now they flipping. They going to the east, right? So that's crazy, right? But that's what's going on. So Turkey gonna be rolling with them. Then it says, in all of his bands, the house of Tagar in the North Quarter. So again, they're gonna get some of their old USS countries, that they used to have back in the 80s. Then it says, in the North Quarters and all of his band and many people with thee. So they gonna bring them out. People's gonna be they're gonna have the forces to do this thing, right? Because nature's gonna be following behind them in that day, right? And it says, be thou prepared and prepare thyself and all thy company and assemble unto thee. So God is telling Pushisti, be prepared. Get all your peoples ready. Get everybody that's rolling with you. Make sure everybody good. Make sure y'all got everything y'all need, right? Be on point. That's what he's telling them. It says, and be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company, as assemble unto thee. And what is God put in the charge of Russia? Why did Russia send their little warship down to Venezuela and and try to try to put up a little blockade? It says, and thou be a guard unto them, meaning protect your people, Russia. Go ahead and stand on business, right? All for your BRICS wide, right? Handle that. You know what I'm saying? If they mess with any one of your members, show force. Let them know that you rolling with them, right? And that's what they start doing. Like them in China, I think they sent a couple of ships down there, to try to, show a little intimidation, let them know they ain't with all that, right? So, and it's going to escalate. Then it says, so then it says, after many days thou shalt be visit. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land, and thou that is brought back from the sword. So, after Russia handled their business, right? And we know what that means. Then it says, so some time go by, because again, now they become that superpower, right? Because they don't took out the West, right? Then it says, after many days thou shalt be visit. In the latter years thou shalt come into a land that is brought back from the sword, and gather out of many people against the mountains of Israel. So God telling, Pushisti, like after you get your great victory, you're gonna be chilling for a minute. Then those four spirits we was reading about, how God uses them to influence the world and nations, countries, people. So a spirit is going to hit him, and that spirit is going to be like, "Hey, let's go attack God's people." Let's go ahead and get them Israelites down there. Let's go ahead and get them blacks. How did they escape America? How did they get out of this thing? I thought I pushed the button, and when I pushed the button, everything went kablooey. How they get out of this? Let's go get them, right? Then it says, after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and gather out many people against the mountains of Israel. Meaning they're going to bring all the armies of the world, like we read in Revelation. They're going to bring all the armies of the world with them, right? And because, like Ronald Reagan said, like, what can bring the whole world together if it wasn't for an outside force? Would that not make us come together? Right? Reagan said that. And that's what's going to take for all these nations, because the Bible tells you that they're going to stop fighting one another, and they're going to be like, you know what, let's go fight that guy that just popped out of the sky out of nowhere. Let's get him. Right? Then it says, that was against Israel, which have been always waste, but forth out of the nations, they should dwell safety in them. So, we're going to be chilling in the wilderness, because, again, we're going to be in the midst of our second Exodus, like we can read about. We went over that. We're going to be in the middle of our second Exodus. So we're going to be chilling in the wilderness. And just like the days of old, when we was chilling in the wilderness, what happened? Pharaoh came and tried to get us, right? Didn't that happen? Then what happened when Pharaoh tried to get us? Pharaoh took a little swim in the ocean, in the river, right? And that was all we know about that, right? That's what happened to Pharaoh. Pharaoh had to take a little bath. He had to go swimming with the fishes. That's what happened, right? So they're gonna come again. Then it says, and thou should ascend and come like a storm. So they're gonna be like coming. Million-man army, all different nations, coming from every which way to try to attack the Lord's people. Then it says, and thou shalt ascend like a storm, and thou shalt be like a cloud and cover the land. So it's going to be like a cloud covering the land. That's how deep they're going to be. And it says, and thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. So they're going to have everybody that's coming with them, right? They're going, because, again, it's not going to be hard to convince the world, like, hold on. Like, we can get back to our little scrimmage, but we got to handle this problem. I think we're in the middle of how they might classify it as a alien invasion. So this Micah 4:11, it says, also many nations are gathered against thee. That say, let her be defiled, and let our look be upon Zion. And that's what they're gonna say. They're gonna be like, in that day, they're gonna come and try to take a spoil. They're gonna try to rob us. They're gonna try to, take us for what we got. Because not only are they coming to try to fight against the Mashiach Yahushua and his people, like I said, we're going to get it. We're going to read it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to break it down. We're going to walk it slow. Then it says, now also many nations are gathered against thee. Talking about Israel. Because that's what it's going to be in that day. They're going to be gathered against us. Because, like I said, we're going to be in the wilderness. And like I said, we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be living at peace. And they're going to have to try to, and they're not gonna like that too much. Then it says, and many nations gather against thee that say, let her be defiled. So they like, look, man, let's go attack these people, right? Like, what's going on over there with them? You know what I'm saying? Because maybe, perhaps, this is just me just thinking, like this. outside of the scripture. This just me thinking like like a man. It's my own thoughts right now. So perhaps maybe, well, in that day, they see us in the wilderness and they see all this crazy stuff going on. They see what they would call the UAPs or whatever, and they see us in the wilderness. Perhaps they may think that we're the cause of it, and they be like, you know what? Maybe they got something to do with this. So let's go attack them. That could be a reason. Now that's just me speaking as a man. That's not anything scripture. That's just me just thinking how what would make them want to do it. But all right. So back to this though, right? So it says. But it says, but they know not the thoughts of the Lord, neither understand they his counsel. For he shall gather them as sheaves on the floor. Meaning, because when you got a threshing floor, like a wheat floor, they be chopping the wheat and all that stuff, and they actually chop the wheat, on the threshing floor, the sheaves fall to the floor, and they get swept up and gathered, right? So that's how he's illustrating it. So he's is basically luring them out, luring all the nations out so he can, get them there so he can hit them there, right? So it says, now also many nations are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, and let our eye look upon Zion. Meaning, let's go up there, let's go take over Israel. Now it's our turn to go rule this city, this spot. But they know not the thoughts of Yahweh. Meaning they know not how God works. They thinking this is just an open field. They can just go do what they want. They know not how God is moving. It says, neither understand his counsel. Meaning they don't know his thoughts. They don't know how God is operating. And it says, for he shall gather them as a sheaf unto the floor. As sheaves unto the floor. And that's what's going down. They're gonna get put down right where they stand in that day. So back over here, Ezekiel. So it says, thus saith the Lord, Ezekiel 38 and 10. Thus saith the Lord, it shall come to pass that same time things shall come into thy mind. So like I said, that spirit is going to come into him. And it says, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And the evil thought is, hey, let's go get those Israelites over there. Let's go get them. America had them. And, we want to be a great power too. So, and history tells us every superpower, every power had the Israelites as their second-class citizens, as their slaves. So let's go attack them and bring them back to our place so we can be great. That's that evil thought. And then it says, and thou shalt say, I will go into the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest. So again, because we're going to be chilling in the wilderness, because we just got delivered from this place, because this place, they done decide to push the button, and then then the Lord done took us up out of here, because that's what our deliverance is from these nuclear bombs, this nuclear fallout, salvation, right? So because a lot of people wonder, because people be like, well, if you talk about America getting destroyed, what's going to happen to us? That's the uniqueness of our salvation, that we getting taken out of this place before all that stuff happened. So we in the wilderness, right? And they ain't going to like all of that. So it says, and thou shalt say, I will go to the land of unwalled villages, and I will go to them that are at rest. Because again, we're in the wilderness. It's the land of unwalled villages because the place is destroyed because of war. Everything is destroyed, so it's not built up. It's not no standing army, border patrol to protect anything, right? So it says, and all of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates. So they gonna be thinking we just in the wilderness with no protection. We just out there, this dolo. They don't know that we got a Mashiach Yahweh shot on our side, right? They don't know that we got a interdimensional supernatural, all-knowing, intergalactic being on our side, right? And not just one. We got the millions and millions of the angels with us, right? In that day. And they not going to know that, right? And it says, let's go to Revelation 20 real quick. Revelation 20 and 8. Real fast. And it say, so it says, and shall go out, so Revelation 20 and 8, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. So again, so after the Western thing is NATO is out of the picture, right? So then you got the BRICS, they gonna be doing their thing. So then it says, what it says Gog and Magog. So, you know, pursuing that Pooh Shiesty will still be in charge in that day. You know, so like I said, he's gonna gather the rest of the nations that survived World War III. So all the nations that still got an army to fight, he's gonna gather them together. Then it says, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. So he's going to come and battle. They're going to come and fight us, right? Because you thought I was just saying some stuff because it sounds cool. But no, the Bible tells you they're going to come and try to fight us. Because who are the people that are of the sand of the sea, right? And we ain't talking, you know, who is the people of the sand of the sea, right? It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is in the is as the sand of the sea. So, like I said, so they're gonna put the spirit on these nations to come together to fight the nation of Israel, and that's gonna be as Arnold Schwarzenegger say, big mistake. Big mistake. That's gonna be a big mistake. So let's get what we want real quick. Let's get Hosea real quick. So right here, Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be, who is this? Let's read it again. Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. So who is these people coming to fight the Israelites? Because they just said over here, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass in that place which was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it should be said to them, ye are the sons of the living God, right? So we are those people that are the sand of the sea, right? Let's get 2nd Ezra 13 real quick. Let's pull it up. Let's get 2nd Ezra 13 real quick. 2nd Ezra 13 and 5. Real fast. Then it says, After this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men, outnumbered from the four winds of heaven. So again, these is all the nations coming together in that day to try to fight against Christ and his people, right? So we're going to get a glimpse of how this battle is going to go down, right? So, and I like to liken this to like the Royal Rumble, right? This like a Royal Rumble mixed with WrestleMania. So, and this picture us coming in at, if this is the Royal Rumble, picture us coming in at number 30. And as we coming in at number 30, it's switching to WrestleMania, right? So, hold on, so lock here real quick. Yeah, so like it, we back. So yeah, like WrestleMania. So this picture like coming in at like number 30, right? So then soon you come in at number 30, switch right into main event WrestleMania, right? And it goes down, and it says this. And after this, I behold, and lo, there was a gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man which came out of the sea. So, you know, so like I said, they're gonna try to come and subdue the man, this who we know as Christ, right? And you know, again, this is now this part, just like I said, it's me speaking as a man. I'm guessing, you know, a good portion of them not gonna know what's going on, so they're gonna be thinking this is some type of entity that they gotta come and capture, you know, kill or capture, right? That's how they thinking. But again, they don't know that this is an interdimensional, super galactic, all-knowing being. I don't even know how to describe it. That's crazy, right? But that's what they are. So it says this. And that's the pride of them, too. They, like I said, they don't let their Hollywood movies convince them that they got a chance. And it says this. To subdue the man that came out of the sea. And the sea is talking about the sea of people, because it's us. We are the sea of people. And it says, but behold, and lo, he gave in himself a mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen a region of the place whereof the hills was graven, and I could not. And after this, behold, lo, all which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and thus fight. So you know that, you know, of course, you know, you read about that mountain in Daniel. So basically saying that he protected the people. He told the people, like, hey, y'all get back, you know, women and children. You know, he, you know, put a border of protection around us, right? Then you got the warriors, the angels, and 144,000. They about to go and put in work, right? So it says, and after this I behold, and lo, they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid. So the armies of the world, they're going to be afraid. Of course they're going to be afraid. They seeing this, what they would call a UAP or AU, whatever how they say it. You know, when I was growing up, they call them UFOs, right? They would see something like that. That's what they'll probably look at it. So they're going to be afraid. They're going to be thinking, dang, do we got the technology to fight against this thing? You know, is it strength in numbers? How we going to do this thing, right? They're going to be like, if Will Smith is still around, we need Will Smith in here. You know, we need something to stop these aliens. Right? That's what they're going to be thinking. And it says, where that? Boom, boom, boom. And it says, and after this I behold, and lo, they which gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet there's fight. So they still gonna fight, because they gonna get that command from their general, from their captain. You know, go, you know, fire all weapons, you know, all that, right? And they gonna get that command. They gonna have to fight, right? And it says, and lo, as I saw the violence of the multitude that came So now they attacking all their might, all their whatever they got. They dropping bombs everywhere, right? Doing whatever they trying to do, right? We saw those movies with that. Remember the first Independence Day movie when they threw the little bomb at the ship and they waited to see was it any damage? Just like negative impact, sir. Negative impact. The structure still remains. Structure still remains. That's all you're gonna be hearing. That's all they're gonna be hearing in that day. Negative impact. Negative impact. Structure still remains. Right? That's all they're gonna be hearing. Because it says, and lo, he saw the violence of the multitude that came. He neither lifted up his hand nor held a sword, nor an instrument of war. Right? So he out there like Malcolm X. You remember that part when they went to go visit a jail, and he, got all the people behind him. So he out there like that. So he ain't gonna do nothing. Right? He already got his hands dirty. You can read about that in Isaiah 63. Right? He already got his hands dirty. Right? So it's up to the people. He gonna let his people get some licks in now. So it says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand nor held a sword nor any instrument of war, but only saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, out of his lips a flaming breath, out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Right? That sounds very fantastical. But what is that? He's given the people the command to go attack. He's told them attack. Like, what's that movie 300 when Xerxes told the army slaughter them. Right? That's what is going on here. Right? Let's get that really, really quick. Right? Jeremiah. Jeremiah 51. Uh, 51 and 20. Here we go. Matter of fact, let's start at 20. It says, "Thou art my battle axe." Who is the Israelites? "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee I will destroy kings. I will destroy kingdoms." So that's who. When it says with fire and tempest, that's him giving us that command. Because it says right here, let's start at 19. "The portion of Jacob, which is the Israelites," because that's another name for Israel. "The portion of Jacob is not like them," right? Because they not like us, right? They not like us. They not like us. It says, "The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance." Meaning we got the power and the glory, right? We got the power. Yeah. Got the power. Right? "The rod of his inheritance, the Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the kingdoms, and with thee I will destroy kingdoms. And with thee I will break in pieces the horses and the rider. And with thee I will break in pieces the chariot and his rider. And with thee I will also break in pieces man and woman. With thee I will break in pieces old and young. And with thee I will break in pieces young men and maid. And I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. And with thee I will break in pieces the huntsman and his yoke of ox. And with thee I will break in pieces the captains and rulers. I will render unto Babylon, unto all the inhabitants of the Chaldeans, all their evil." That's how the Most High talk, and that's how he get down. And it says that they have done in Zion. Why is he doing this? Because everything that these people have done to us, God is going to pay them back. "For what they have done in Zion, in your sight, said Yahweh." That's how God get down, right? So he's using us to destroy these people, right? Because it says, but I saw that he sent out of his mouth and said it had been a blast of fire out of his lips, a flaming breath out of his tongue. He cast out cast out sparks of tempest, right? Let's get Isaiah 11 real quick. Isaiah 11, and I think Isaiah 11 and 4. But the righteous shall he judge, and the poor and reproved it, and reprove with equality for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked, right? And again, by the law, because, like I said, it's going to, by the law, and we follow the law. And because we follow the law, it says this. I will raise them up a prophet, Deuteronomy 18 and 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command them. So everything that the Most High God tell him, and it says, and it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require of him. So it's a law for us to follow everything this man tells us to do. So when he say attack, we're going to attack, and it's going to be on, right? And we're going to have the power to do so, right? Because it tells us in, what is it, Zechariah? Yeah. In Zechariah. I think. Right here. Okay, Zechariah 12 and 8. Let's start at 7. Zechariah 12 and 7. Because, you're probably thinking like, well, how we going to be, how we going to do this? Because, again, Hollywood stole from us. Hollywood took from us, Superman, X-Men, all these Marvel comic people. Hollywood took from our book, right? And they made it into something, they bastardized it, till we don't even recognize it. Right here. And the Lord should also save the tents of Judah. Save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah, right? Because the kingship come from Judah, and Christ is a Judite, and that and he's the king of all of us, right? And in that day, as a nation, as the 12 tribes, we're going to recognize that, and we're going to be all cool with the black Messiah, known as the Mashiach Yahushua, ruling over us, right? Now, this is the point right here. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Because we just read that the Russians and all the BRICS are going to come down, try to think it's very good to attack the Americans, the black Americans, the black Americans, right? They don't think it's very good. But it says this, in that day the Lord should defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them. So even if you in the wilderness, say like you're an older guy, you probably got a bad hip, you got a bad back, you probably walk with a cane, maybe you're a little weak, you don't got the muscles like that, you're a little skinny guy, whatever, right? It says, what did God say? In that day the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, he that is feeble among them. So even if you wanted what the world may consider weak, a liability, you got you got 9 toes on 1 foot, you got 1 arm longer than the other, you got a bad knee, right? In that day it says, the feeble among them in that day should be as David. And if you know anything about David, David was a mighty, mighty man. We know David killed Goliath. We know that. But David was like a black Rambo, right? Meaning he's the John Wick of the day. The man goes in by himself and do what he needs to do, right? So God is saying that the weakest of us, He's going to put the Spirit on us to where we're going to be able to take out a whole platoon by ourselves. Because, like I said, you know what David did? David, kicked the door and went in by himself and did what he had to do, right? That's what he does, right? So the weak of us is going to be able to take on a platoon by ourselves, right? Then it says, the feeble among them in that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God. So that's why I say Marvel Comics, Hollywood, all them people took from us. So the rest of us is going to be like the gods. We're going to be like gods to these people. That's why when they do come with their military technology and all that stuff and whatever they got going on these days, it's going to be non-effective, right? That's why they're going to be like, target still remains. I repeat, target still remains, right? Was that movie? Yeah, that was Independence Day. Dude was like crying on the intercom, target still remains. That's what all you're going to be hearing, because it says, in that day, the Lord shall defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them, in that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God. Meaning, what's God? That's power, right? Then it says, be as God, as the angels of heaven, as the angels of the Lord before them. So again, if you're familiar with the power of the angel, because there's some bad angels out there, right? You should read this thing sometime. There's some angels out there that can do some things, right? One angel killed 200,000 by himself, going against a Assyrian army. Killed 200 Assyrian soldiers by himself, right? That's what he did, right? Another angel killed about 70,000 of Israelites in one day, right? And was about to go kill more, but God said, hey, yo, gotta chill, right? Gotta chill, yo, gotta chill. Then the angel was like, hey, well, you know what I do when you let me loose? Ain't nobody safe. So, what I mean? That's how we're going to be in that day, right? Because He's going to give us the Spirit to do so. Because a lot of people, don't understand, how this thing works. They really think this is I don't know what they think. This is not a universal thing, right? This book is for Israel, by Israel. It's like FUBU. For Israel, by Israel, right? And it's all about the redemption of His people. So, let's get this. Let's get Jeremiah. So again, this Jeremiah 50 and 22, right? So it says this. It says, a sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. And that's what's going on. A sound of battle is in the land, throughout the world. All these nations is going at it for whatever respective reason that they're going at it for. Right? It says, a sound of battle is in the land. Right? Let's get Exodus 15 real quick. So we got to understand, because people are like, well, because we got to understand how God run this whole thing, right? Because it says this, Exodus 15 and 3. The Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is His name, right? The Most High God is a man of war, right? That's how he brings peace. Peace comes from war, right? We want peace on earth, but peace comes from war. Everybody knows that. And it says the Most High God, it says the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is His name, right? And that's what we got to understand, because that's why He's putting the Spirit on these different nations to do what they do and to move how they move, right? And, so, because that's how the Most High God run this thing. It's like I said, we're like toy soldiers around here. And it says, a sound of battle is in the land, great destruction. right? And that's what's going down. Sound of battle, great destruction, great destruction. Revelation 9, real quick. Revelation 9. Revelation 9 and 15 says this. And the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay the third part of men. So remember, these four angels are these four horsemen that we read about earlier that the Most High God uses to influence the world, countries, nations to do things, right? So now, these four angels has influenced the world to war, to go to battle. And as they do so, it says this. The four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay the third part of men, right? So a third part of man is going to perish in this battle. You know, that's just the battle alone, let alone talking about the sickness and the famine and the diseases and other stuff that's going to go on, you know, out, you know, this chaos and crime, period, right? 2nd Ezra 13 and 29. And it says this, behold, the day come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are on the earth, that are upon the earth. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to come to deliver his people, because we got to get up out of here. Like, this place is very corrupt, jacked up. This is like the worst place to be. Like, you know, and how evil and sadistic the world is. You know, we should want better. We should not want to be here, right? We should want to, all of this stuff that's going on here to be erased, you know, and just press the reset button, right, on all this, right? So it says, when the Most High began to deliver them that are upon the earth, because we need that deliverance. Because if we don't get that deliverance, what these people are doing, they will not stop, right? They will not stop until all is destroyed. And we know they won't stop, because these people have something called the dead man's switch, where if one of them so happened to die in office, you know, they, you know, for whatever mysterious reason, you know, the nuclear bombs detonate and go off. That's crazy, right? Who devised such a thing? That's why we need deliverance from these people. These people are sadistic and sociopath and psychopathic, right? And he should come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. So when God is looking at the earth, like, wow, these people are very, very evil. Like, these people are the worst of the worst. I can't believe how corrupt and messed up these people is. Oh my gosh, right? Then it says, and he should come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, and one shall overtake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one realm against another. And that's what's going on now. Civil war, regional war, global war, right? World war, right? That's what's coming, and that's what's happening, right? In a lot of these places. And it says, one should overtake to fight against another, right? Because that's civil war. One city against another, regional wars. One place against another, global war. Another people against another people, and one realm against another realm. World War III, all that. It says, and the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen which I showed thee before. Then shall my son be declared. So as World War III going on, because like we read before, you know, they're going to be fighting in Russia and everybody going to come and try to attack, right? So as World War III going on, Christ is going to come back with the millions and millions of angels with him, right? And it says, I showed thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as the son, as a man ascended. And boom. And it says, Oh, that was okay. I was looking for something else. Okay, it says, and when all the people heard his voice, and every man shall hear uh, a shall in their own land shall leave the battle they have one against another. So again, you know, going back to how we was saying, they're gonna be fighting each other, right? Then as they're fighting each other, when Christ come back and with the angels and all that stuff, so as they seeing this unfolding, they can be like, hold on, all right, I know we don't get along right now, but let's go see what's going on with this, you know, apparently invasion we're experiencing here, right? There's like millions of spacecraft in the air, and one being that seems like he's in control of everything. Let's go check this all out. So it says boom boom boom, and the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and a sign shall happen, which I showed thee before. And then my son shall be declared, whom thou sawest the man ascending. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle that they have one against another. So in the midst of World War III, this is why it's important. Again, it's not that we're cheering on the Russians and the BRICS wide, but we understand prophecy. We understand that once World War III kicks off, in the middle of World War III, that is the return of the Mac, right? That is the return of Christ, right? And Christ is coming back, and he's going to be black, and he's coming back with the millions, right? So we understand these prophecies. So that's why as we watch things unfold, we report on it. We, see, we looking at these things to see how close we are to these times, right? And it says, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle that they have one against another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come to overcome him by fighting. So they're gonna come together and say, hey, let's go attack and fight him, right? Because you think it's crazy, right? But again, we gotta understand, through their propaganda and their movies, they really done fooled themselves. They done say, hey, look, cause look, I keep on bringing up referencing Independence, right? That movie. They figure, hey, a bunch of aliens come to Earth. All we gotta do is get a smart white guy and a crazy black guy to go up there and put a virus in the ship, and maybe blah blah blah. They really think they got a real fighting chance, right? And that's why they developed the whole Space Force thing. The Space Force is, not something new that they just popped up with. That's why they want to put nukes out on the satellites and the moon and stuff like that, because they know where the real threat is. All this fighting against each other, that's the charade. The real battle is what we're reading right now. And it says, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another, and an innumerable multitude shall gather together, and thou sawest them willing to come to overcome him by fighting. But they shall stand upon the top of the Mount Zion, and Zion shall come, and it shall be showed to all men, being prepared and built like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands, right? And my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions. So again, like we read in Daniel, that mountain, that hill, that's us, that nation. Like how we read earlier that he flew upon that nation, so he protected us, right? So then it says, and this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations. So that's why I said when they come in that day, we thought we was joking. It was funny when we said, negative, sir. Structure still remains. That was a negative impact, sir, because it says, "My son shall rebuke their wicked inventions of the nations," meaning their technology in that day is not going to work. They're going to push a button. It's going to go click, click, click. And you're going to be like, what? It's not working. It's jammed. The missiles is jammed. They're not firing, right? Because it says, "My son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations." So all their technology, all that little stuff that they got going on is going to be non-effective in that day. And it says, which for their wicked life are fallen into tempest, and shall have laid before them their evil thoughts and torments, wherewith they shall begin to be torment, which are like unto flame, and he shall destroy them without labor, but by the law. Because we just read it. That's why we went to, I put the carriage before the horse. But that's why we went to Deuteronomy 18:18 to show you how we keep the law. We're going to follow our King commandments to the T. When he say attack, we're going to attack. And it says, "And he shall destroy them without labor by the law," because he's the king. He's going to give the order, and we the soldiers, and we're going to move, and we're going to do that, right? And it says, "And without labor by the law, which is like unto fire," right? Because when it talk about that fire, because we're going to, and the Bible tells us, I can't paraphrase it because I can't remember the exact verse. Just like when you light something on fire, right? And as it's burning out, you see the little fire, kind of zipping through the ashes as it's, burning. It said we're going to be moving through these nations like that, right? We're going to be, like the little flicker and the little sparks and stuff. We're going to be moving through them just like that. That's how fast we're going to be. We're going to be like 144,000 flash. What's that, the guy, the little Marvel dude, or the DC guy, the Flash dude, right? Very fast, right? So that's how fast we're gonna be moving on them. So yeah, right. So that's how it goes down. Destroy them without the labor of the law, right? So back over here. Meaning he's going to give the order. So back to Jeremiah. So it says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become desolate among the nations? Because this place is going to get destroyed in this coming war. And, they, go around bullying everybody. They're not going to make it, they're not going to see the finish of this whole thing. They're going to be destroyed in this whole thing, right? And it says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become desolate among the nations? And we know that they are the hammer because their military power, and how they operate around the earth, with complete dominance, right? They can go into countries and kidnap leaders, and with impunity, right? So all that's going to come to an end. Then it says, I had laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, that thou was not aware. So the Most High God is saying, look, I'm laying a trap for you people. Y'all just following, down the whole path that I'm leading y'all, to trap y'all. And it says, I had laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, right? And that's what's going on. They are found and also caught, meaning they are exposed, and that's what's happening. They're getting exposed. Even when you watch the little Epstein case, getting exposed, all their little stuff that they try to, hide and stuff like that is coming out. And it's crazy how a lot of their other countries that's got leaders that's involved in that stuff, they're prosecuting, some of their former leaders and stuff. But nope, not this place. You know, they trying to sweep it under the rug, act like it ain't ain't nothing happening. But they're getting exposed. Everybody's starting to see who they are and what they do. And it says Zephaniah 1:18. It says, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in that day of the Lord's wrath. So in that day, America's riches, whatever they got, the people, the rich and famous, all that, whatever. In that day, we all gonna be broke. In that day, Oprah, Jay-Z, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, whoever, our bank account's gonna have the same amount in that day. Right? And it says, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in that day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even the speedy radiance of all them that dwell in the land. So God, like, look, I'm pay all you people back. I'm coming to get down with all of y'all, right? I'm running a fade with all 320 something million of y'all, excluding the 40 million in the and the other brothers and sisters, right? He's running a fade with all of them. And it says, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in that day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be delivered by the whole land shall be devoured by fire of his jealousy, for he shall make a speedy readiness of them that dwell in the land. Because those ICBM missiles that China and Russia possess, and they over there trying to downplay Iran. Iran just showed them that they also got them a hypersonic missile. I think I seen that the other day that they were testing. So stop playing with these people, man. These is brick squad people. Y'all need to understand, brick squad and a real poo shiesty, they ain't playing with y'all. Right? So they got, all of them got hypersonic missiles over there. That's crazy. Right? So, it's no defense for a hypersonic missile. Because it's hypersonic. Can't see it. Right? And by the time you know it's coming, it's too late. You only got 3 minutes to react. What you want to do in 3 minutes once you know imminent destruction or death is coming? What you gonna do in 3 minutes? Think about that. So let's go back to Jeremiah. Boom, 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 boom. And matter of fact, let's get Isaiah 54 and 16. We gotta understand how this stuff works. Isaiah 54 and 16 says this: behold, I had created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. So this is the Most High God talking about. He had created the scientists to, that created these massive these weapons that's capable of mass destruction, right? These nuclear scientists. Behold, I created the smith. Because when you think about a smith, back in the day, a blacksmith, a leathersmith, a metalsmith, right? They specialize in crafting things out of those materials. So a scientist is the modern day smith, right? Nuclear scientists, these military scientists, they are the modern day smith nowadays. So they create all these different weapons and technologies for warfare, right? And the Most High God is telling you, He's putting a spirit on these people to create these advanced weaponry, right? And it says, behold, I created the smith that bloweth the coal in the fire, and that bring forth the instrument for his work. I have created the waster. So he put that mindset and Oppenheimer mind to create the nuclear bomb and make it efficient so it can be used to, for maximum casualties, right? What's the dude name? Oppenheimer. I said it right. He put the spirit on him to do those things, right? And the other nuclear scientists that came before him. And it says, "Behold, I created the smith that bloweth the coal in the fire, that bring forth the instrument for his work. I had created the waster to destroy." And that's exactly what he did. Created the waster to destroy. Right? And let's get. Let me see. Do I want this real quick? So let's get this. Jeremiah 4:7. Let's start at 6. Jeremiah 4:6. Set up a standard towards Zion, meaning come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Prefer your culture, your people, your nation. Set up a standard towards Zion. Retire, say not, I will bring evil from the north, and for I will says retire, stay not. So meaning, look, we need rest from this place, right? And that's why we need to come back to our culture and come back to our customs and who we is as a people. For I will bring evil from the north and great destruction. So it's talking about he's going to destroy this place, right? And it says, the lion is come up from his thickets, and the destroyer of the Gentiles. The destroyer of the Gentiles is those ICBM nuclear missiles that they got, right? And it says, the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He gone forth from the place to make thy land desolate, and thy city shall be laid to waste without inhabitation. Right? That's what happened to this place. It's going to be left without inhabitation. Right? That's how it's going to go down when it goes down. Right? Let's get boom, boom, boom. I think hold on, let's see what this is. So in Revelation, I can read this here. Revelation 6:9 says, "And when he had opened up the fifth seal, I saw under the altar of the souls of them that were slain for the word of Yahweh, and for the testimony which they held." And that's what we're going to do. We're going to hold fast, to the end of this thing. Because some of us going to be martyrs in this thing, right? Not everybody going to see, Christ come back with the millions and millions. Some of us might be martyrs in this thing, right? And, then we have to catch it on a, when after, but the martyrs will be the first resurrected. So, there's nothing wrong with that. Then it says, for they cry with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? Because, not only, the martyrs of our people, then our ancestors, through slavery and stuff, all the unrightful, wrongful death, that happened, to our people from, since we've been in this land, the unjust, unaliving that took place, to our people. There's no justice, for our people since we've been here, right? A lot of, stuff went and happened to us with, little to nothing, transpiring after that, right? So a lot of our people is crying from the grave, up there with heaven, and asking God, how long is it, when are you going to finally avenge us for what these people have done to us, right? And it says, and the roles were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest for yet a little season until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. Right? So God is like, look, we gotta, there's a few more prophecies that gotta play out, and because you gotta understand too, a lot of this stuff, well, I don't want to get too deep into that, because that's gonna take us off the lesson. But the point is, our people are spiritually waiting for the salvation of our people and to get out of here. So just go back right here. To Jeremiah. And to say this. Well, let me see what this says. Okay. So yeah, let's go back here. So it says, I had laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast strive against Yahweh. And that's what this place do. They strive against the Most High God through their laws, their policies, their religion, their philosophies. Everything they do is against the Most High God. And it says, and they even convince us to follow their philosophies and in their way of life. And I hate it because our people are so wrapped up in this culture and this way of life that we think this is what it is. And when you try to present them their culture, like, hey, look at this. See, this is our people, and this is what we did, and this is what God wants us to do. They're like, no, get that away from me. No, we want to live like white man. We want to live like the white man now, right? That's who we follow, right? That's who our Caesar is, right? They don't want their own culture. Cause it's crazy to me, because I'm telling you, and I'm saying this from experience, right? I'm speaking as a man again. Now, of course, becoming an Israelite does not, not that, what I mean become an Israelite, because you're born an Israelite, can't get around that. But being a practicing Israelite, understanding the laws, statutes, and commandments in the faith, now, doing so does not automatically make your life just turn completely, now you just, everything is all great now, right? But you will get that rest. How the Bible say that Christ is our rest. You will get that rest. You will get that peace that you've been looking for. And everything that is so crazy in this world will look strange and foreign to you, because you're like, I don't understand why these people are going through all of that, right? Because again, that's what the beauty of serving Christ. You get rest that our people need. And even with all this hell that's going on in this world, you'll still be able to find a solitude and rest through the Mashiach Yahushua, because he said, my way is easy, right? And it's just that we so caught up in this world, because like I said, I be listening to people, some of their problems that they go through, and I'm like, it's an easy fix only if we just come back to what thus said the Lord, and we all keep to that. Right? Because we look at this book like it's just a book to read, and it's good reading, nice stories. You have to believe it and follow it and apply it, right? That's why we read the wisdom books. That's why we do, the the series that we do, like Becoming Life Eternal, with the Bible thing, right? Because we got to understand the wisdom in this Bible and understand how important it is. Because understanding the wisdom can make this whole thing come alive. Then give you the understanding of how to deal with other people. So anyway. Laid a snare for thee, thou are taken, O Babylon, thou was not aware. Thou art found and caught, because thou hast strive against the Lord. The Lord has opened his armory and has brought forth the weapons of his indignation. And that's what's going on. So that's why Iran has popped up this week, or was it last week, talking about, oh yeah, we got an ICBM too. We got a a hypersonic thing too now that we're testing. Because they used to always downplay Iran, like Iran, they ain't got nothing over there. All that stuff over there primitive, right? But not so. It says, the Lord has opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. So God, like, look, I bust out my whole war chest on y'all people, right? I got my war chest open, and whatever y'all want to do, just do it, right? It's on. Then it says, for this is the work of the Lord, God of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans, right? So God said, look, I'm gonna handle business, right? Got my war chest open. Whatever y'all want to do, I'm going to destroy all you people, right? And it says, come against her from the utmost borders, open her storehouses, cast her up as a heap, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. So God said, look, once he unload and do what he need to do, there's nothing going to be left for this place but rubble. That's why it tells us in multiple places that this place is not going to be inhabitable for this perceived future after this whole thing, happens, right? And it says, slay her bucklets, let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. And that's what's coming to this place. Because if you think this place can go on forever, ever, and nothing happens, you are very crazy, right? This place is about to have a 250th birthday. And if you know anything about empires, they don't last that long, right? They're right at the threshold of the point where they start to go down, right? And we see the beginning stages of that. We see the different things that's going on. Whenever an empire start to invade non-important countries, what I mean by non-important countries, like meaning like Venezuela, they start messing with them for whatever reason. They start trying to pick with Canada for whatever reason. They want to go into Venezuela. Whenever they start trying to throw their weight around, that's because they're losing power. They want everybody else to know that they still the head honcho, right? So just like that person that's falling off, but they still trying to show out and act like they still trying to spend a whole bunch of money at the club. No, dang well they ain't got it like that no more, but they still want everybody to still look at them like the man. That's what's going on. That's the fall of an empire, right? When they start doing stuff like that. And you can study it through history. Look at all the civilizations that went before. It is a certain specific path that every civilization follows that leads to their downfall and their collapse. And America is no different, right? They're doing the same thing that every other nation before them did to no longer exist anymore, right? And it's only a matter of time. And it's, like I said, because it happens, nothing lasts forever, right? The sad part is that we're here. The sad and amazing part is we're here to see it, and it's amazing that we're here to see it, right? So, and it's crazy. Then it says, come against her from the utmost borders, open her storehouses, cast her up as a heap, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing be left. That's what's going to happen to this place. Nothing will be left because, again, the technology they got, these bombs that they got now, is way stronger than the stuff they used in World War II. 2nd Ezra 16 and 13. It says this. Strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that shooteth are his arrows that shoot that he shoot are sharp, and as and should not miss when they begin to shoot into the ends of the world. So again, when China, Korea, Russia, Iran, when they decide to push them buttons, the platinum dome that we're gonna build, everybody, the platinum dome's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better than Israel dome. You know, whatever dome they got, it's gonna be better. Class A, everybody. Class A is gonna be the best. Top. You know, but it just told us right here. What did it say? What was it? Second Ezra's, 16 and 13. For strong is the right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows that he shooteth are sharp. Meaning these ICBMs, these intercontinental missiles, these hypersonic gliders that these people got, they on point. They tip top. You know, they gonna do what they do. It says, and they should not miss. They're not gonna miss. Whatever whatever coordinates they type in the launch pad, it's going to hit that mark, right? They should not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. So the platinum dome, folks, the platinum dome, we got the platinum dome, everybody. The platinum dome is going to be worthless in that day. All those millions and gazillions of dollars they try to put into their missile defense system, it's going to be very weak in that day. Very weak, people. Right? That's what's going to happen. Right? And the Bible tells us that it's not going to work. All right, let's get it again. Read it one more time. It says, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows that he shoot are sharp and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. So everything the Most High God said is going to happen. Everything we're reading is going to happen, and it's not going to not happen until it happens, right? And when it happens, that's when it's over with, right? So everything he said is going to happen because God is a man of his word, right? We're not reading this stuff out of vainness, right? Everything that God said happened before, it's going to happen again. It says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out until it consume the foundation of the earth. So this nuclear war is going to scorch the earth, right? It's going to turn this whole thing, scorch earth. You know, was that the Reddit, you know, with Vin Diesel? You know, like I said, nuclear fallout, this earth is going to be kind of really jacked up if everybody dropping bombs on everybody, right? And the Most High coming to visit this place with fire, right? And it's going down exactly like that. Hold up. So we got to understand that. So, you know, this place got a judgment coming. The world got a judgment coming. And it's protection for the righteous of his people. We got to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Keep the faith in the Mashiach Yahweh Shai. You know, so we can, you know, get up out of this thing. Because nuclear war is not cool. And just so happen, we are the only ones that qualify for salvation. That said the Lord. You know, and to get saved out of this thing. We just got to keep the commandments, the faith, and, you know, come back to who God called us to be. So, hopefully, you know, that was edifying and all that cool stuff. You know, until next time, we out. Peace. Shalom.